Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I'm going to be your host, the Irrelevant Nerd. Today, we're going to be ranking all 16 DCEU movies, and I figured, universe is over. Let's go ahead and get this ranked, and I decided to go through it and rewatch all of the ones that I had only seen once, and not a second time, like The Flash, Wonder Woman 1984, the only one I didn't go back and rewatch was the original Justice League. I've still only seen it one time. I just cannot bring myself to do it. But I'm going to go through the list here. I'm going to keep my thoughts short because these videos have a tendency to already be long. So number 16, we are going to go with Justice League. This is a movie that the more I think on it, the less and less I like it, the more you learn about what happened behind the scenes with Zack Snyder. It leaves it a gross taste in your mouth. And when you just look at the movie itself, they bring in Joss Whedon, who's an obvious hire because he did have success in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the first two Avengers movies, but tone and directorial style, like his, does not fit with Zack Snyder's at all. And so the movie is very choppy and uneven, and the coloring is terrible because they threw this warm filter over everything. It looks like shit. The Flash's character is reduced to like literally nothing but a joke in this movie. Cyborg is a nothing character in this movie, and literally every single change that they made is worse. Like, there is nothing about this movie compared to Zack Snyder's Justice League that you're like, oh no, I actually prefer what they did in this movie as opposed to what they did in his movie. Like, maybe fans of short movies, like, that's the one thing, is they prefer the runtime of the original one as opposed to Zack Snyder's like 4-hour epic. But I hate this movie. I cannot stand it. Number 15, we're gonna go with Suicide Squad. This is one that there is a lot to like here. Some of the casting is really good. The soundtrack is fantastic. But it's another one of those ones where the studio comes in, interferes with the original vision. It's my understanding that the company that cut the trailer for this movie did the final edit to make it feel a little bit more like Deadpool, because that movie had just come out so recently, had done well, and they were flip-flopping on this harder tone for the DCEU basically every single film following Batman v Superman. And it's just a jumbled mess, and it's very generic, and there's the sky beam at the end, but a lot of the character moments don't really work because the characters aren't fleshed out. Despite being fun characters played mostly by fun actors, I don't know, it just feels very aimless. And I'm one of those people that, I don't know if we'll ever get it, especially because releasing the Snyder Cut only seemed to kind of create like more rift in between the fans. Like, I'm glad we've got it, but the studio, I bet they were hoping that people hated it so they would just be ready to move on from the universe, and instead it ended up being this great movie that now people just want more of. But I would like to see the Ayer cut of this movie, because I don't know, it's just a mess. Like, it's got some fun to be had if you're a fan of comic book movies, but it's not very good or memorable at all. Like, I was kind of surprised when I was rewatching through it how much I had actually forgotten about in here. And then I don't like the Batman cameo in this movie at all. I like Ben Affleck Batman, don't get me wrong, but I just don't like the way that he's used when he brings in Deadshot. I don't know. Nothing about this movie to me is like makes me want to rewatch it past really doing these rankings. Number 14, we're going to go with Shazam! Fury of the Gods. This is one, I don't hate it. It's very forgettable. This is another one that I watched for a second time recently, and again, was very surprised at how little of the movie I actually remembered. And as you watch it, it is just missing the magic that the first Shazam had, and I don't know, there's just not enough focus on like Billy and Shazam in this movie, and the dynamic seems to have shifted a lot, but of like between Billy and Shazam in this movie. Like Billy's so serious and he's so like surly all the time, and then you have Shazam, who is like this adult version who acts more like a kid, and they do that because that's what Zachary Levi is good at. But you have to kind of match. It's still the same dude. He just now has more powers and knowledge and blah blah blah. But yeah, very very generic, very sloppy, and it is a bummer that I don't know. I thought the first one actually set up a potential Shazam sequel really well, and this one is just underwhelming in every way, mostly just by being so forgettable. Like I said, I wouldn't categorize it as bad. I probably Suicide Squad and the 2017 Justice League I would describe as bad, and then every other movie on here isn't terrible per se. It's just extremely flawed. But I think you can have fun with this one, but just damn, is it forgettable. And if I'm ever feeling in the mood for Shazam, I'm just going to go back and watch the first one. Number 13, Wonder Woman 1984. This movie is a fucking mess. It also looks terrible. Like something I've noticed pretty much post 2017 Justice League is for some reason, Aquaman looked pretty good, but for some reason a lot of the movies in the DCEU towards the latter half seem to look worse and worse and worse, special effects wise, and I don't really understand. Like there are just some shots in this movie that are like they kind of look like the worst shots in the first movie are in the third act with the big CGI boss fight, and a lot of what you see in this movie makes that look like fucking Infinity War good. It's so bad, like especially in the first scene when you see her fighting these just like robbers trying to get into the back of this jewelry store for some potentially like stolen and valuable artifacts, and she's swinging around and it looks terrible and clunky and awkward, and her suit I don't know, there's something about it. Like I know it's a real suit, but there is something about it that looks distinctly CGI when she's moving around in this movie. I do think there is some things to enjoy in this movie. I do think that Kristen Wiig does a pretty good job in this movie, more in the first half. Like I really don't like it after she starts the transition into Cheetah. I think the acting goes a little too hammy and I just don't buy it. But at first, when she's like this quiet, nervous, sad kind of person, like I actually kind of felt bad for her. And I do like Chris Pine. I think it's silly that they brought him back because he did have a meaningful death in the first movie, and I understand why they did. And he does have good chemistry with Gal Gadot because he's Chris Pine, and he has great chemistry with everybody because he is probably Hollywood's best Chris. I mean, I'd have to list him out, but he'd probably be number one. But I like Pedro Pascal. A lot of his dialogue, like very much near the end when his master plan is going into effect, is corny. It's terrible, but he is very clearly having a lot of fun playing this, bad guy who thinks he's the good guy and, gets what he's deserving in this movie. And it's like pre Pedro Pascal being in literally everything, and so I don't know, it's just a lot of fun to see him in this role, and he seems like he's having a good time. But then the way that he's defeated with Wonder Woman just kind of giving this speech, supposed to be this emotional, touching speech, and Gal Gadot is not the best thespian I've ever seen. A lot of her lines are very wooden, but I think the score for this movie is pretty good. I don't dislike the general premise of like the wishing stone and gods interfering with mortals by having these artifacts out there. Like I don't hate it, but there is just so much here that you're rolling your eyes at. She's supposed to get this new like gold suit at the end, and I forget the name of it, but looks real cheesy, and it looks kind of even cheesier after they break the wings off. And the mid-credit scene of this movie where you have the original actress of Wonder Woman from, I believe it was the TV show, like give a wink to the camera and be like, oh, it's okay, I've been doing this a long time. Oh my God. Like, I could not have rolled my eyes any fucking harder when that shit happens. But the thing that kind of elevates this one just slightly above Shazam Fury of the Gods for me is, even though I think it's kind of silly that he's here, the chemistry with Chris Pine is fun to watch, and I enjoy him being on screen, and he's used a pretty decent chunk of this movie, and so I just have fun watching him. Number 12, I'm going to go with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So this is one I watched yesterday, and why does this movie look so terrible? I don't know, like, a lot of people kind of dog on The Flash for being the worst looking movie, and I do think it has like maybe the worst looking moments in probably the whole DCEU, but I don't know. This one is probably the most consistently terrible looking movie in the entire DCU, especially when they're underwater. And a way they have a lot of the creatures and animals look is just very PlayStation 2 video game shit. And I don't like the way this movie opens with Aquaman doing the whole, oh, and here's what I've been up to, and blah, 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 blah. And it's montaging basically all these things that he's having to deal with. I guess I just don't like that personality for my Aquaman, and it just feels like such an awkward setup to me for some reason. But you go through this weird CGI slop fest, all of which looks terrible. Like, there was not a single shot that I'm like, oh yeah, this is like the best shot of the movie. It's all pretty fucking terrible looking. And I don't know, before this movie had come out, they had talked about how they had wanted to lean into the more serious side of this character, but then like Jason Momoa's portrayal in this movie is so childish, and he's making poop jokes and fart jokes, and I'm like, how is that leaning into the more like serious aspect of it? Like, I don't get it. And it's fun watching him and Orm interact, like just that love-hate relationship they have with each other. Like, that dynamic is fun, and the investigation is kind of fun. And Black Manta's, like, his plan here, very comic booky. I dig it. His motivation, also very comic booky. I dig it, but I don't know, the scenes where he gets the evil trident and he puts them together, and it's just dumping all this exposition, and a lot of scenes on the ship with him, and his subordinates come across very awkward and cringy to me. Like, a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the humor for me falls flat in this movie, and it just looks terrible. I cannot stress that enough. Like, I do think this is the most consistently bad looking movie in the entire DCEU. And then the way it wraps up with Aquaman kind of coming up and being like, no, we're going to share our resources, and it's, very Black Panther-esque, kind of very similar to the first Aquaman, actually being a little bit Black Panther-esque. And he comes out and he's like, well, and I am Aquaman, very much like 2008 I am Iron Man at the very end of that movie. But that does not work for me with this version of Aquaman, or probably any version of Aquaman. So that's why it's this low on the list. But I just, rewatching through it the second time, I was surprised that I did not remember how shitty this movie actually looks. 11, Birds of Prey, and whatever the rest of the title is, they changed it several times. So for me, it's just easiest to call Birds of Prey. This is it's a nothing movie. It's not bad, it's not great, it's just kind of a fun time in the movies. It doesn't really inspire you to rewatch it, but there's nothing in particular pulling it down other than just probably some wasted potential of the actresses and these characters. And it does have fun visuals, especially with Harley Quinn beating the shit out of people, and the comedy mostly works, I feel like, with Harley Quinn in these movies. Like, there's always going to be some cringy stuff that she's going to say that's not going to land with everybody, and that's my experience as well. But it's fine. It's fine. It's got Elizabeth Taylor Winstead, who I'm always a fan of when she pops up and stuff, mostly because, she was Ramona Flowers, so she'll have my love forever, and she's married to Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is cool, regardless of how they got together. But anyways, I like the Harley Quinn character, and I'm glad that she kind of got more shine and also had these other characters to sort of level it out, because I believe that she is the type of character that'll wear on you really, really fast if that's all that you're getting. But again, just very forgettable. Like the last couple, they're fine, but they're really non-memorable films at all, and they don't really make you want to rewatch them, and they don't necessarily feel important to the larger DCEU at all. So you, in essence, could really skip all of them and you would still understand the greater story that eventually builds up in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But it's fine. It really is just kind of an exists film. Number 10, I'm going to go with The Flash. What a disappointing movie. What a disappointing move for WB to proceed with this movie after all of the shit that was going on beforehand with Ezra Miller and production and all the troubles on set that they were having. And I feel like from the very opening scene of this movie, when he's helping to rescue the hospital and all the babies are flying out the window, I feel like that scene, you could just tell the quality of movie you were getting right then and there. There were going to be some moments that made you laugh. There were going to be some moments that made you cringe super hard. There was some that was going to look really cool, and there was some that was going to look really, really terrible. Like him running, it looks like he is running in slow motion, and the world is just moving around him, which I guess that might be how super speed looks, but it looks like he is moving so slow, and he does this awkward thing where he's pointing with two fingers, and he's like these long arm, waves that he's doing when it goes, and it looks bad. Like, he looks slow. He looks way too slow in this movie. And I don't know, them bringing back Michael Keaton, it's fun to see, especially if you're a bigger fan of those movies than I am. And, it did bring back a little nostalgia for me, because those movies did come out when I was a kid, and I liked how he was used in this movie, and it shows that he takes damage now that he's old. But like when they introduce him as this weird, kooky old man in his sandals, I didn't like that shit at all. This movie has probably the most cringe humor of any DCEU movie. Just a lot of it is Ezra Miller's line delivery, his mannerisms as, regular Barry, and then alternate Barry is very off-putting. And to me, Ezra Miller, even before all the crazy shit happened, and he was in things that I did enjoy, he's just not a leading man to me. He just does not have that energy, that screen presence, or anything like that. Really, the only thing that pulls this movie up above, to be in the top 10 technically, is just the emotional crux of Barry wanting to save his mom and help his dad. That stuff really worked for me. My mom isn't dead and my dad isn't in jail, anything like that, but I thought it worked really well. I bought the emotional aspect there, but everything else is just really strange. I do kind of like the final battle with the Kryptonians. It's cool to see the speedsters going around, even though they do some dumb shit with it and the song choices are odd, but it's fun to see Kara try to fight Zod, and she can't win because she's not Clark. And the premise of one of the Flashes trying to go back over and over and over and over again, I like that lesson, and I feel like they should have just made it more like the actual Flashpoint story, especially since they knew that this was kind of going to be a reboot movie of the universe. I don't understand why this one didn't come out last, because it feels like the easiest to just jettison into the next universe with very minimal explanation. I'll never understand why they did it that way. But then, you get to the end of this movie and it's George Clooney Batman, and his fucking tooth falls out at the very last second, and it's just, what are we doing here? And what's the director? Anthony Muschietti or whatever his name is. They're talking about how he's going to do the next Batman movie, and I'm just not excited at all. I don't know why. Maybe James Gunn just really liked working with him, but he was not able to pull shit out of this film. It looks terrible. It's directed terribly. yeah, I don't get it. But the emotional aspect of this movie works to me, and I like the Flash character. Number 9, we're gonna go with Black Adam. Man, if Black Adam had come out like 2008, 2009, I would have thought this movie was the shit. It has a feel of a comic book movie of about a 15-year older time, and it's fun. It's simple, it's basic, and the characters of that they bring in with Dr. Fate and Hawkman and the Atom are all fun additions. I think the actors do a fine job, and the plot is fairly straightforward, and the anti-hero aspect I feel mostly works, and I do think The Rock is a fine enough portrayal of the character, even though I think it's fucking stupid that he wouldn't do the pointed ears. Like, that's such an easy thing to do to make yourself look way more like the character all of a sudden, because it's such a distinct feature. Like, you don't have to do an accent, you don't have to do anything like in particular with your voice, but you can do things to look a little bit more like the character, and that the pointed ears would be one. But there is a lot to enjoy in this movie. I think the humor is pretty toned down, and it mostly works, and a lot of the visuals with Dr. Fate are super cool, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't excited about the concept of seeing Black Adam and Superman either fighting together or fighting against each other on screen, however they were going to do it. And that tease was fun, and it's a real shame what ended up happening. And I think a lot of the reason that this movie didn't do super well is The Rock just pushed too hard. He was a tryhard, and he's been in so much, and he's all over the place that people just are fatigued of him at this point. Like, he's been in a lot less the past couple years. Like, he's still in stuff, he's always going to be in stuff, but I feel like he's less prominently featured since Black Adam kind of just disappeared into nowhere. But I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think he overhyped it way too much, and because it does kind of feel like this, other than that Superman came, it's just kind of this standalone movie that feels like it was made of a different time. Like, it doesn't really serve the bigger universe all that much, regardless of what they had planned after. This movie itself does not really set up all that much, but I do like it, and I'll probably, find myself rewatching it every couple years or so, as like maybe a background movie. But I like it, and I think it gets a lot of unnecessary hate online, and I just think of a lot of that is more directed towards The Rock than the actual movie itself. Number 8, we're going to go with Blue Beetle. For me, this is probably the most underrated movie in the DCEU. I don't really hear a lot of people talking about it. It didn't do super great in the box office. None of the last movies, from The Flash on did, because everybody knew the universe was ending. The quality had been inconsistent at best. Superhero movie fatigue was definitely starting to kick in between like Marvel, all the other ones, all the independent ones that were released as well. But this movie works for me. The main actor, I don't know how to say his name. Was it Jolo? The dude who plays Miguel in Karate Kid? He's awesome. I like him a lot, and I'm glad that they are going to figure out a way to work it to where he is still going to be the Blue Beetle for the DCU. And when you look at this movie, there really is not a ton of connective tissue to the bigger world, and I think they did that on purpose, because if people liked it and wanted more, then they could save it for this new universe. And if they didn't like it, then, oh well, it's just another one of these movies that they're putting out for the sake of putting them out. It is very reminiscent of Iron Man and pretty reminiscent of Ant-Man, both of movies I like, but it's not copying any of them. It's a very similar origin story, and it's an origin story I like. I like the tech. I like his relationship with the Scarab and his family. Like, I really, really love the relationship between oh my God, not Miguel. That's his Karate Kid name, and it's the only name that's coming into my head right now. Jaime. I like his relationship with his family and his crazy grandma and all that stuff. I thought worked really well and kind of brings a more unique feel to this movie compared to the other DCU movies. Like, this one just feels a lot more family based and oriented, and I liked it, and I wish it had done better, because I think it is a good movie, and I really do hope that we see him more. Like, I'd be down for a Blue Beetle 2, or if they're just going to have him be in team up movies. I just don't want him to be sidelined, because I like this version. I liked the look. I liked the actor. I hope we get to see more of them. And if you haven't seen this one, because not a lot of people did, I would recommend it, especially if you already have HBO and you don't have to pay anything extra to do it. It's a good time, and it's not a super long movie, so it's not like it's gonna, take a ton from you if you don't like it. But watch it. It's worth checking out. The score is good. Soundtrack's fine. Actors all do a good job. The family aspect is good. The comedy works for me pretty much for most of this movie. There are a few jokes that just don't hit because they're a little mature, but I just feel like every superhero movie is going to have some of those. But yeah, check it out if you haven't. Number 7, I'm going to go with Aquaman. This movie, I thought, was pretty good. I believe it's the highest grossing DCEU movie. I believe it's the only one to break $1 billion. Fact check me in the comments if I'm wrong. But Jason Momoa as this character, really, it worked in this movie. He kind of does play this more serious but can be lighthearted and goofy guy, but doesn't want to be bothered and doesn't want to deal with all this, that, and the other thing. And then he kind of gets more pulled into this world, and you see more of the technology and the animals and the way they interact with the creatures under the sea. And it looks, I don't know why, but this movie just looks so much better to me than Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Like, there are a few shots underwater where it looks weird and bright and kind of neon-y, and I guess it's just hard to do underwater stuff. Like, if you look at the live action Little Mermaid, the stuff under the water is fucking terrible in that movie, and I guess that's just hard to get. But I mean, at least their hair is like floating around and shit. But this movie is mostly really just carried by how much you like Jason Momoa as this character in this movie. Like, I think he does a much better job here than he does in the second one. And I like the conflict with his brother Orm. It's a very Thrones of Atlantis inspired movie, obviously very inspired by Black Panther when it came out, like very similar, hidden world type or hidden countries, civilization type of stories. And I don't know, I thought Black Manta was portrayed pretty accurately to the comics in this movie, as well as Orm, really. And I thought they did a good job setting up this character for fun stories in the future. And it's not that I hate the direction of the second one, it's just it falls very flat comparatively to this first one, and it's just such a significant step down in quality, which they bring back James Wan, and James Wan does a good job directing this movie. And like, the fight scenes are a lot of fun. The way that his powers look are pretty good. The way that Mira's powers look are pretty solid. But I still am confused by how this one is the $1 billion movie out of the franchise. It's number 7 for me, so it's pretty much right near the middle. Not bad, but it's not great. It's fine, which I guess is kind of a theme of a lot of the DCEU movies, is there's just really a few great ones, and the rest are okay, enjoyable if you're a comic book fan, but I do understand why some people don't like them. But I think, looking back, I don't know if I would have done an Aquaman solo movie if I would have just kind of kept him as a side character in other movies, because now I think, I don't know, having him as Lobo, it's going to be hard for me to see because he has gotten a decent amount of screen time as Aquaman. Like, I think he's perfect for Lobo, but maybe if they had kept him as a side character, my mind would be more open to seeing it without being like, I don't know, I just see his version of Arthur Curry now. But we'll see. I'll see how he does in the Supergirl movie and in any other projects he's in. I'm here for it, but yeah, I don't know. It's a good but not great movie, like a lot of these. Number 6, we're going to go with Shazam. I thought this movie was so much fun. From here up, I would say these movies are good, and I would recommend them to the in general population. Like, even if you're not a fan of comic books, there's just enough enjoyable aspects of this movie. Billy Batson getting these powers, becoming Shazam, Zachary Levi fits it so well. This movie does have kind of that same problem as the second one, where Zachary Levi does seem to be more childish than the actual child actor himself, but it just, you can, in this movie, you could just kind of chalk that difference up to he's so pumped to have these powers, and he's just a kid geeking out by all these cool things he can do. But his relationship with his foster brother and foster siblings in this movie, I thought, were really nice and a really good complement to the rest of it. Whereas in the second movie, I think they maybe kind of focused on the siblings a little too much and pulled a little bit too much from Shazam. But this movie does not do that. This movie's biggest flaw, though, however, it does come down to the third act. When we're transitioning into it, I just had that feeling of, oh yeah, that's right, that's how this movie ends. It's very unforgettable. The first and second act to me are the best part, when you're introduced to these characters and he's introduced to the powers and going around and trying to help people and working with his brother or foster brother. And that all really worked for me. And the third act, it isn't bad. It's just very generic CGI superhero battle. And so it doesn't leave that distinctive a mark when you're walking out. But I would say this is like a solid B movie. If all the movies had come out and were of this quality or better, I think the DCEU would still be going strong. And I do think Zachary Levi is a good pick for this character. And I think it's kind of a shame that we never got to see Shazam interact with any of the other DCEU characters outside of a little bit of interacting with Wonder Woman in the second one, like a very, very small amount. Because it would have been fun, but this first movie almost feels like its own thing, because it does not seem to connect into the other movies at all, and it has the same visual look as the Snyder movies, but really not the same tone at all. But yeah, I wish we maybe had gotten to see Shazam more interact with the other characters in the universe. Number 5, I'm going to go with Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. That's always going to be my caveat on it. If I was just doing Batman v Superman, it would probably be second or third worst on this list, because it is very rushed and awkward when you just watch the theatrical cut. But the Ultimate Edition of this movie is good. I have been out here singing this thing's praises for forever to my friends, to anybody who will listen to me talk about it. I think this is a good Batman versus Superman movie. There is always going to be some stuff that doesn't work. Like, I never particularly liked Jesse Eisenberg's like twitchy, whiny little Lex Luthor. Like, he seems smart and he's doing menacing shit, but, and like, I have no problem with the plot. I've never liked him shoving the Jolly Ranchers in people's mouths and having his little type of, I don't know, awkward moments. But the Ultimate Edition of this movie, it's fleshed out. You get to see a lot with these characters, why they're doing what they're doing, why they feel the way they feel, why they think the way they think. And it's a lot of, they show you, don't tell you. And the actual fight between Batman and Superman is fun. Ending is very climactic. I will never argue that with anybody. It's a weak point in the movie. Agreed. But Batman probably has like the best scene of any Batman fighting scene in any movie when he's wrecking the dudes in the warehouse. And so I recommend this movie literally just for that scene alone. But I really like the Batman here, the dark, grizzled one. I think Ben Affleck does a good job. He's bulky and he looks the character really well. Henry Cavill does a good job with what they're given, even though his character is just kind of monotone a little bit this movie, but I still like his portrayal. And yeah, if you have not seen it, watch the Ultimate Edition. Even if you've seen the regular one, you're convinced you're not going to like it, I guarantee you will like this one more. Number 4, we're going to go with the one that started it all, Man of Steel. This is one I initially was disappointed in, then kind of liked more over time, kind of dipped a little bit over time, came back up more. And it's really, I like Henry Cavill's portrayal of Superman. This is not the version of Superman that I would naturally gravitate towards. If this had just been like a one-off Elseworld story, I think this would be just a great Superman story. But since it is like a foundational character of this whole universe, I wouldn't go with it. So I have a complicated relationship with this movie, but I've been ingesting a lot of Superman lately, and I like it. I think it's solidly done. I think the story is fairly straightforward. Even the movie tells it in a fairly not straightforward way at all. I like these other Kryptonians coming in and him protecting this world that's become his home. The action is mostly fine, even though it drags on way too long and there is just way too much destruction. But a way a lot of it looks, like Zack Snyder, he just has fun visuals when it comes to the action scenes of his movies. And I do wish that we had gotten a little bit more Henry Cavill, like a Man of Steel 2, just to see him flesh out the character, and maybe I would have liked this version of Superman more. But as it stands now, it's not quite good enough to crack into that top 3, even though I think it is a solid starting point for the DCEU, even though the movie is not really constructed to be a setup for a universe. Number 3, Wonder Woman. I was really surprised by this movie when it came out. In particular, the No Man's Land sequence when she's going out in between the trenches during the war. I thought it was a really good introduction of her character to this universe, and the Diana coming to this world because she wants to help, despite what her family and, her sisters back on Themyscira think. And this movie, it tells it very straightforward, but I like that. It's very classic to what you might see in the comics. The way that she looks and she fights is super cool. Her soundtrack is fucking awesome, and like she just seems very much like Wonder Woman, whereas in like Wonder Woman 1984, she does things that you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like when she turns the jet invisible, it's not that she has an invisible jet, it's apparently she has the ability to turn things invisible, and she doesn't fly, she just glides, so she's basically just an airbender up there doing her shit instead of flying. But anyways, the way that she's portrayed in this movie, the lasso of truth, it all looks good. This movie is, for me, it's a B+. The thing that holds it back from getting that A is unfortunately just the generic CGI boss battle at the end. It's the worst looking part of the movie. It feels kind of maybe like rushed in a way once she gets to discovering that it's Ares and like where he is and gets to him. And it feels odd, but beyond that, I think they nailed the look of Wonder Woman. I think the fighting style is really good. The action scenes are great. Her chemistry with Chris Pine in this movie is really, really good. There are fun side characters around her that I like seeing her interact with. And so yeah, very pleasantly surprised. It's just that ending that's really keeping it from being an A movie, but it's really not far off. Like it's a very high B+. Number 2, we're gonna go with The Suicide Squad. The one directed by James Gunn. I was so surprised by this movie. I didn't go see it in theaters. I did go see this one in theaters. And then I watched it again back when it came out on HBO Max. I believe it was still HBO Max. I don't believe it had converted to Max yet. And this movie is so fun and visually a lot of fun as well. Like scenes of them marching through the rain look so fucking cool. And this is another group of Misfits characters that this is just James Gunn's strength. He knows how to bring the, random group of characters together and kind of make you care about them and like the dynamic that they have with each other. And the Amanda Waller aspect of this movie is, and Amanda Waller's a fucking bitch, dude. Like she is, like she thinks she's working towards the greater good, but this bitch a villain. And Harley Quinn has a fun adventure in this movie, and John Cena and Idris Elba are great additions. And I like the rat catcher, and I like King Shark, voiced by Sylvester Stallone. He's a fun and surprisingly cute character in this movie, and I like kind of the misdirect with the initial Suicide Squad being killed on the beach and then getting replaced with this one. And there is a scene where Peacemaker and Bloodsport are trying to see who can kill more dudes as they're coming into this camp that they don't realize are going to be people that are on their side. But he just hatchets this dude up who's laying under a blanket, like chops him like 4 or 5 times just walking up his body. And I don't know why, but every single time I see that scene, I hysterically laugh. But I like the stuff with Starro. It's very comic booky, like a giant evil mind control starfish. I don't know. That's kind of what I want from comic book movies is, the comic booky stuff. But this movie unfortunately didn't do super well in the box office. And, there was a lot of stuff going on with COVID. Like, not every theater was showing it, like unless you had a small local theater that was. A lot of the chains weren't still, I believe, because there was like a new variant that had just come out for COVID at the time. And then I think the exhaustion from the inconsistency of quality in this universe was also really pulling this down. But if you have not seen it, watch it. It's a good time. Like, it might be James Gunn's best. No, that's probably still the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's one of his best comic book movies. But coming in at number 1, we're going to go with the culmination of the universe, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I love this movie. I think it's so good, and it really, really made me want a Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. I would have loved to have seen what he was building up with Darkseid here. The way that every character is more fleshed out, in particular, the Flash and Cyborg, make them so much more compelling and interesting. And everything about this movie is so much better than the one that we got that was released in theaters. And it's so cool that even the actors supported the release, the Snyder movement, because they believed in Zack Snyder's vision. Like, they saw his vision and wanted us to be able to see his vision because they knew what they were working towards. And man, did he just nail it. Like, there are always going to be some things with Zack Snyder's DC movies that are going to rub some people the wrong way because he doesn't super care about comic book lore. Like, he very clearly draws inspiration and imagery from comic books, but he will fuck around with the lore as he sees fit to kind of do what he's doing. But he was setting up basically an Injustice Superman, and I would have absolutely loved to have seen that. And it's a shame now that so many years have passed already, because even if, the DCU fails and people online clamor to get the Zack Snyder universe back, it's just never going to happen. I'd be fine if they wanted to do an animated version of it. I've heard rumors that they might still try to do it that way, and if they do, I am curious as to what's going to happen in the universe, so I'll watch it, but it just wouldn't hit the same way as live action. But again, this is one, if you have not seen it, I cannot recommend it enough. It is 4 hours, so it is a bit of a commitment to get into it, but it is so worth it. It is so good. And it's actually broken down into, I think it's 4 or 5 parts, so you can even watch it in episodes if you want, and it works just as well. So seriously, watch this movie if you haven't. It is so good, and I am bummed that we are not getting more of this universe. Like, I'm fine with the new DCU. Like, I think it's going to do well, and I'm going to be excited to see some of those projects, but man, what a movie. Like, this is such a good comic book movie. Like, it's very easily a top 10 comic book movie of all time for me. The more I watch it, the more and more I think one day it might creep up into the top 5. But yeah, that's my list. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'll do a quick recap for you here. At number 16, we have the 2017 Justice League, 15, Suicide Squad, 14, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, number 13, Wonder Woman, number 12, Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, number 13, Wonder Woman 1984, number 11, Birds of Prey, 10, The Flash, 9, Black Adam, 8, Blue Beetle, 7, Aquaman, 6, Shazam, 5, Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, 4, Man of Steel, number 3, Wonder Woman, 2, The Suicide Squad, and coming in at number 1, easily, Zack Snyder's Justice League. So, this ranking, it might change if I rewatch these movies enough a little bit, but this is pretty much is what this ranking is going to be now that the universe is done. The MCU is still subject to change. Things might come out that you hate, that you'll place more near the bottom or near the top, and you'll have to rearrange everything. But the DCEU is done, and it was a fun ride, and I'm glad that we got to see it. I wish we had gotten more consistency throughout, and I wish that they could have just kind of stuck to what Zack Snyder was trying to build with his vision. And even the initial non-Zack Snyder movies, like the original Wonder Woman, felt more like they were going for his tone, and they just bailed on it at the end, and the entire thing collapsed. And that, with the amount of content that MCU has put out, has just really led to a stagnation for comic book movies, unfortunately. And I don't think they're going away, and I think we're still going to get great ones, and I have ones that I'm looking forward to, but the DCEU is just such an interesting story when you look of how it started and how it changed and how it ended. But let me know your ranking down below if you want to rank all 16, or let me know what your top 5 is, bottom 5, top 3, bottom 3, whatever you want to do. I would love to see it, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next one.